My crazy narcissistic mother called the cops on me twice for bringing my phone over to her house. But after years of dealing with her awful treatment, as well as her mistrust towards me and my father, I'm seriously at my breaking point and I now just don't know what to do. Here's what happened. This story also came from the Am I the Jerk subreddit. Check the links in the description if you would like to submit your own story. So my dad just bought me a new phone for my birthday. I really liked it, so I decided to bring it to my mom's house. And that weekend, I brought it to my mom's house and she was completely cool with it. So I thought to myself, okay, since she is fine with it, I should be able to bring it again, right? Well, when she picked me up from school, she started to head to my dad's house, and I asked her, well, why are we going to my dad's house? And this was unusual because she despised my dad and my stepmom. She responded by saying, because you are not going to bring that phone to my house ever again. And she sounded super grouchy, even though I just asked her a simple question. When we arrived, my dad stepped out on the front porch and he was confused. I mean, we all were. My mom told me to hand the phone to my dad, which I refused to do so because I didn't know the reasoning. Plus, it was my own property. And my therapist told me it would be better if I bring it just in case something happens and I need to call somebody for some reason. My dad asked what was going on because he was genuinely confused of why she was there. At this point, my mom went ballistic. She went on about how I shouldn't be calling my dad on her weekend, even though she tries to distance herself from me when I am there. She even tries to keep me in my room and just stays on her phone. So why should it matter if I'm calling someone that actually enjoys my company? Well, my mom got mad that I wouldn't give my dad my phone, so she had the bright idea of saying she was going to call the cops on her own daughter. She said to me, if you don't give your dad your phone, I am calling the cops. I asked her, okay, well, what are they going to do? Since I literally didn't understand why she was so upset in the first place. She said that they will handle it because it is a domestic dispute, which I was confused because she is the one who started it in the first place. Plus, she's the one trespassing because the court says that they shouldn't even go to each other's houses, and on the summer, they will meet up at a meeting place to avoid conflict. When the cops showed up, they basically said that I should just give up my phone to my dad to avoid conflict, but there is really nothing that they can do. So I agreed and I gave it to my dad. And I hate arguing with her because she is a narcissistic person and she would guilt trip me into believing that she was right. Now, this is not the first time that she called the cops, because the second time she has called the cops was at her house. I had brought my phone again because my dad, my stepmom, and my therapist all said to me that it would be best just in case something happens. I was walking around with my phone in my hoodie pocket just so she wouldn't go through my bags. And also, yes, she does go through my bags because she just doesn't trust me. My phone has a pop socket, and I guess she saw it because she asked me if I had my phone. Now, I denied having it, but she got mad and said to me, I see it in your pocket. Now hand it over or I'm calling the cops again. I was shocked that she would call them over something so trivial. She tried to charge at me and grab the phone out of my pockets, but I backed away because she has mistreated me in the past, and I did not want it to happen again. And when she realized I wasn't handing it over, she decided to call the cops again. When the cops arrived, they said to hand it over to avoid conflict and that I'll just get it back on Sunday, and I agreed to avoid conflict. Plus, I knew this was a waste of all of their time. I don't want to be around my mom because of her narcissistic personality, and she's very manipulative and mentally awful towards me. All of her relatives have either called me a disappointment or have said that my dead relatives are disappointed in me. So this is all seriously exhausting and I just don't know what to do. First of all, I'm so sorry that your mom's treating you that way. Literally, it's just a phone. It sounds like you're old enough to be responsible with it, so the fact that she's like, no, I don't want that in my house, that's not only really weird, but also really suspicious. Like, why would she be so upset about you having a phone on your person? Because the only reason why she wouldn't like that I can think of is that maybe you would use that phone to record her in secret and like possibly have evidence as to how your mom actually treats you at home. Because from the sounds of it, she sounds super controlling. She literally searches your bags whenever you come to her house. Like, that is crazy in my opinion, and it is completely inappropriate. And the fact that she called the cops on you twice, all because you had a phone at her house, like, that is really weird, and there's just no reason for that. Because I'm right there with your stepmom, your dad, and your therapist. I think there's nothing wrong with you having a phone on you, and I think if you're responsible about it, it's a good thing to have just in case you need it. Like, if she wants to put parental controls on the phone or something like that, I don't think that would be unreasonable in the slightest. Like, that really would make sense to me, and it would be completely reasonable. But for her to take this weird stance of like outlawing the phone that your dad bought you, all for some unknown weird reason, is just really strange in my opinion. So I really hope this is able to work out for you, and I'm so sorry your mom is treating you this way, because it is absolutely insane for your mom to call the cops on you, all because you brought your phone over to your mom's house. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably probably going to love Am I the Genius? Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to AmITheJerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. An entitled Karen tries to make a return at my store, despite the fact that she's trying to get money back on an item we don't even sell, even going as far as demanding a manager, as she was tired of hearing what I had to say. Here's what happened. So I was a supervisor at an electronics store a few years ago. Now please note, I said electronics, meaning that all we sold were PCs, games, phones, TVs, and appliances. This is a big US chain store, and you can probably guess where it is. Now this was a fairly busy Saturday afternoon. Part of the job was standing up front and greeting customers and pointing them in the right direction. That is, if I wasn't busy ringing out a customer. But I had a few associates ringing people out since it was busy. Well, this 50-year-old woman walks in with a paper bag in hand. And this is one of those flat paper bags that some clothing stores use for purchases. I ask her if she needed anything, and she says that she has a return. And this is really not surprising since people often bring things back in random bags and boxes sometimes. And since everybody else was busy, I point her to the free register and I tell her that I will take her over there. Once we get over there, I ask for the bag to get out whatever is in the bag. And instead, she pulls out a pair of jeans. Now, to say I was perplexed is an understatement. For a split second, I thought maybe there was something wrapped inside the pants. But no, it's just a pair of jeans. In fact, she is trying to hand me jeans and jeans only. Now, I didn't take them out of her hands, but I did ask her, what is this for? She looked at me and said, I need to return them. They don't fit. I responded by saying, I can't return this. We don't sell clothing. This is not our merchandise. The entitled Karen looked at me and said, what? What do you mean? I've done this before. Now, knowing that this was a lie, I needed to make sure that I responded in kind. I said to her, I have worked here for 5 years. I assure you that we definitely don't. You must have a receipt for returns, and we don't do returns for merchandise we don't carry. When this entitled Karen heard this, she did not like that. She stomped her foot and said, I have done this before. I have brought in tons of Amazon returns before. Where is your manager? I tell her that I am a supervisor, but I then tell her that my general manager will tell you the exact same thing. Our store doesn't carry any clothing. It never has. We don't do returns for merchandise we don't sell, and we definitely don't do Amazon returns. At this point, she starts looking around. People are staring at her holding her jeans, and it's then that she looks behind me at a giant wall, which says both the company name as well as our tech repair service. And there are even people who are waiting on PC repairs that are giving her the side eye. Well, slowly but surely, it finally clicks. And I swear, I could smell burning rubber as she tried to comprehend where she was. She looks at me and says, is this not Staples? I look at her and I say, no, you're literally standing in a different store. That's why there's a giant blue wall behind me that says the name of the store. She then asks me, well, wasn't this a Staples before? But I just say, no, this store has been here for almost 20 years. And before that was a hardware store that got torn down. Now, to this lady's credit, she began apologizing profusely. And I told her that Staples was a mile away and it had a massive red logo. But even after all these years, I'm still blown away by how adamant this entitled Karen was acting. Yeah, it is always so frustrating when someone acts so indignant about something that they are completely wrong about. If she had just opened her eyes and looked around at the electronics store she was very clearly standing in, then she would see that not only is this not Staples, but she's also in the wrong place. And honestly, if she had just been a bit kinder, she probably could have figured that out much sooner than later. An entitled jerk demands that he be allowed in our store early, as he thinks that we should be open at 8 o'clock, despite the fact that our store opens at 10 o'clock. Here's what happened. So I work for a very large music retailer in Canada. I work as the store's shipper and receiver, so I'm always the first one at the store, and thankfully I don't have to deal with any customers. I usually show up at around 8 o'clock, I start working at 8:30, and the store opens at 10. My office has a door that opens into the parking lot and our little loading bay, and I like to keep the door open to let some light and fresh air in. Occasionally, I do get some people trying to come in and talk to me, or they're just trying to return stuff through my door, but I always politely tell them where the actual store entrance is. Now, just a few days ago, I start my usual routine of putting on a YouTube video while starting my day. At around 9 a.m., I notice that there's a big Jeep parked in the parking lot, and there's two people who get out and head right for me. Now, the first person asked if he can come in through my door, and I tell him that we're actually not open for another hour. Now, I could see the confusion and anger begin to bubble up on his face as he looks at me and says, no, you're open at 8. But I reiterate that we are in fact open at 10. But he just isn't taking this as an answer. He insists that we should be open right now. But I tell him that we open up at 10 o'clock every day except for Sundays, which is at noon instead. This guy huffs and puffs and pulls out his phone, muttering to himself that he clearly checked and was sure it said said 8 o'clock. 15 seconds later, his face sinks with disappointment and even more anger as he realized that he messed up. But of course, instead of conceding he made a mistake, he says to me, "Well, that's stupid. You should be open at 8 o'clock. Can you just let me grab my gear?" I tell him that since I'm just a shipper, I don't do any customer transactions and that no one else is here yet, so he will just have to wait. The other gentleman steps in and he was very polite and understanding, but the first guy was fighting the urge to tantrum right out of there into the parking lot. Eventually, they left and came back at 10 o'clock just like everybody else would, and I thankfully got to sit in the back and not have to deal with any of that guy's entitled nonsense. Yeah, that's a really annoying way to act. Like, I'm pretty sure somebody who works at the store you're trying to get into would know exactly when you're supposed to open up the store. Instead of being like a normal human being and saying something like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I thought you opened up at 8 o'clock, my bad." This guy not only pulls his phone out to prove himself wrong, but then complains to this guy as if it's his fault that they don't open at 8, but then still complains that he should be allowed to go in there and get the gear that he needs. And I will honestly never understand that level of entitlement. Like, seriously, just wait until 10 o'clock and get it like everybody else. You can even form a line at the front of the store if you really want to do that. But to sit there and berate the guy who has nothing to do with any of that is just really weird in my opinion. Because the original poster was just sitting there doing their job, and they definitely did not deserve to be talked to like that. Am I the jerk for snoozing a stranger's phone alarm that was going off in my ear while I was trying to watch a play? Because right now my mom is furious with me, and at this point I don't know what to do. I'm a 27-year-old female, and I was at a dinner in a show theater with my family and friends this past Christmas. I had invited everyone to come along as I had the opportunity to work on some of the costumes for the show that night. We were sat at a big table by the stage. The seating for the theater is all tables and chairs, and there are 3 levels of floor space for the tables that descend as you get closer to the stage. I was sitting at the back of our table, so my head was level with the table on the level above us. The food is served buffet style, and the play starts after dessert has been served. As we were starting to eat our food, an alarm started to go off next to my ear. The couple sitting at the table above me was away getting their food, and I waited for maybe 2 minutes, but it was so loud, and it was positioned so that it was blaring right at me. I saw that the phone was an iPhone, so I tapped the little snooze button so that the alarm would stop. That way, myself and everybody else around us wouldn't have to keep hearing the stupid alarm. I planned on telling the couple what happened as soon as they returned with their food, as I assumed that it was some kind of like simple reminder. When I did this, my mom, who was at the other end of the table, was completely astonished, and she decided to scold me harshly for touching someone else's possession. I tried to say that I only snoozed their alarm and that it had been blaring in my ear, but she told me that it's never acceptable to handle something that I know belongs to someone else. She said to me, "Well, what if that alarm was for an important medication?" I replied by saying I only snoozed it, and I'm going to let them know as soon as they return. But she continued to scold me in front of my friends and my future sister-in-law for my supposed behavior. When the people returned, I told them what I had done, politely apologized for snoozing the alarm, and they thanked me and apologized as well for leaving the phone on the table. They didn't seem upset at all that I touched the phone. This incident has come up a few times in conversation ever since. My mom will not back down or even apologize to me for scolding me and embarrassing me in front of my friends and family. Most people that I've told are on my side, but some agree with my mom that it's never appropriate to touch someone else's property without permission. I really feel that because the phone was causing a significant disturbance to me, it was okay to snooze the alarm, but maybe I'm wrong. So am I the jerk in this situation? What should I do? I don't think you're the jerk at all, because the environment that you're literally sitting in says that you should absolutely put your phone on silent. There is nothing more obnoxious than going to a movie theater or going to see a play and someone's phone just goes off all of a sudden. Like, seriously, show some kind of like theater etiquette and turn that crap off. But even beyond that, it's crazy to me that your mom is still upset about this, even after you and this other couple apologized for the phone incident, and they didn't even seem upset that you touched their phone. Like, seriously, what is going on? She's choosing to be upset about a non-issue. Literally nothing bad came of this situation other than your mom being upset about something that could have happened. So no, you're definitely not the jerk, and this is such a benign scenario for your mom to be so upset about. My mom is acting incredibly entitled and has been treating me very poorly ever since I came into a bit of money, and I feel like I'm at such a loss and I now just don't know what to do. Here's what happened. I'm a 34-year-old female, and in December I got a total hip replacement. My mom, who's 62, stayed with me for about 5 weeks as she was helping me with my 7-year-old son. The plan was for her to come and do washing, take my son to school a couple of times a week, and make food and tidy up the house for a bit. When she was here, my son spent half the time, if not a bit more, at his dad's house, so he wasn't here as much as he usually is. Plus, he was off for 2 weeks over Christmas, so she didn't want to take him anywhere. The first 2 weeks, we got takeaway food 4 times a week because she literally just didn't want to cook, and I paid for 80% of these, even though I didn't always eat it because the meds made me feel sick. I paid for all but one food shopping trip, but she went and got it, or I got it delivered. After 2 weeks, I was doing my own lunches because she was going home or going to work for a few hours a day often, and was usually taking some clothing to wash with her. I gave her $50 a month to go towards gas for taking my son to school and back, as well as the gas needed to take me to a couple of hospital visits for about 4 months. I thanked her a lot, and I thanked her on Facebook a few times, and I thought that was enough, but she does not. I recently came into a bit of money, and she's asking me where her gift is. I said before that I'll take the 3 of us away, but it was going to be about $1,000, but she said that she didn't want to. Now she's saying, you could have at least given me a card and some flowers and a gift, and you never gave me the $50 a month at all. You said you'll take me away, but now you're not gonna do it. And just so we're clear, I have bank records that basically say that yes, I did give her that money, plus a lot more than that in the first place. I feel like I did enough, and as a mother myself, I wouldn't dream of helping my son through a life-changing procedure and then start demanding gifts and all this other stuff. I would do it because I'm his mother. She's always been funny with money. She knows when I get paid, so as soon as I do, she's always asking to borrow my money and doesn't always pay me back. And she makes snarky comments whenever I do have spare money or not wanting to spend it, and I think that might be clouding my judgment. If I'm in the wrong, I'll own it, but I just don't see how I am because right now I really don't know what to do. You didn't do anything wrong. It sounds like your mom is just a complete leech. She's literally demanding a gift as well as what, a vacation of some kind, all because you came into a bit of money. And it's not like you didn't thank her repeatedly online and in person. You clearly express your gratitude for her helping you out in your time of need, and you made it very clear to her that yes, her contribution made a big impact in your life. And that, in my opinion, is the part that bothers me the most. She's trying to claim that you didn't compensate her enough for all the things that she did for you. It's almost like she's forgetting the entire reason she was at your house in the first place. Like you weren't there by choice, you had a total hip replacement. That is a serious surgery, and from what I understand, it can really take it out of somebody. The recovery process for that can be so long and so taxing. So for her to sit there and be like, oh wow, I can't believe that you're not giving me more. You should have given me a card or some flowers or some kind of gift. Like that is so entitled, it's not even funny. So no, you didn't do anything wrong because I think that your mom is being super toxic. Did I overreact with my longtime girlfriend after I caught her sending steamy pictures to a coworker? Here's what happened. So my girlfriend and I have been together for over 11 years and we have 2 kids together, and we're recently having the wedding chat. Now the reason why we aren't married yet is because she has a huge problem, and that problem is an addiction to male attention. I don't know where it stems from, but it's gotten to the point where I simply cannot take it anymore. She started a new job 6 months ago working at a bar, and she loves it, and they've accepted me as one of the group when we have lock-ins. There is this one guy that works with her, we'll call him Steve for the sake of the story, and Steve is set to be married in a couple of months and is working 2 jobs to pay for the wedding. He and my girlfriend get along great, and there's no worries in my eyes with the current situation, but how wrong can I be? So she was led in bed the other night with our daughter, who was led beside her. My daughter says, "Who are you texting, mommy?" And my girlfriend suddenly shuts her down and says, "I'm not texting, I'm reading." And when I heard that, alarm bells start ringing, and I'm thinking to myself, oh god, not again. It's been 2 years since the last incident. This can't be happening again. Now, I shouldn't have, but I asked my daughter in the morning what she saw. She said that she saw mommy texting and quickly changed the screen when asked who she is texting. I had a talk with my girlfriend the next day, saying that if something is happening, please just let me know, because we know she has a problem, and usually we can sort it out before it escalates. She says it's nothing, and that it's just work chat, since she sorts the rotations and other things with the employees. I knew that wasn't the case in my gut, and I decided to check her phone as she was sleeping. Now, they had been chatting non-work related matters, but nothing too out of the ordinary. But when I looked through the recent images, and in the WhatsApp folder, right there in front of me were some indecent images that were sent and received. So I confronted her and Steve is apologizing profusely, saying that nothing physical ever happened with my girlfriend, and that they were just being flirty over text messaging, and that it definitely shouldn't have happened. Now, I can expect that from my girlfriend, but not from a guy who's about to get married and someone who I'm friends with. So I told him to quit his job before I let his fiance know what was going on and that he needs to stop all contact. The next morning, which is today, I decided to kick her out of my life for good. And I did this because I don't think she will ever heal or stop these childish ways. So am I overreacting with Steve when I made him quit his job? Or even when I said that I would find his fiance and tell her myself? I know I'm not overreacting with my ex, since I think she belongs to the street ever since she started the whole thing and baited him from looking at the exchanges. What should I do? I don't think you overreacted at all. Steve is a scumbag and so is your ex-girlfriend. For starters, in my opinion, the first time this happened would have been the last time this happened. If I was in your shoes, I would not have stuck with this lady and I would have kicked her to the curb and said, absolutely not, I don't think so. Like, you guys have kids together. How can she seriously go about doing that at the expense of your family? And for Steve to go along with this in some kind of way is just so toxic. So no, you did not overreact with either of them, because in my opinion, I think that these people are absolute trash. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist at the top of the description. And if you want some chill music to put on in the background, check out easymode.com. If you like Am I the Jerk, subscribe to Am I the Genius. Everything will be linked down below in the description.